Hello, 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 hello. Welcome on in. Let me make sure everything is looking good real fast and we will get started. It's been a busy week. We've done a lot in a lot of different ways. Give me just one sec. Let me make sure audio works. Cool, cool, cool. Let me kick on some delightful music and we'll get started. Spotify is on. Whew. Big breath. Welcome on in, everyone. So, fun fact, the previous company that I started, pretty long-lasting website called Notebook.ai, has been servicing writers around the world for almost a decade now. Yesterday, I got an email out of the blue saying, "Hi, your hosting has been banned." So I've been scrambling the last day to get that all sorted out, and they just emailed me right as my stream started saying, actually, we undid the ban. Sorry. Everything's good to go if you just undo everything that you did the last 24 hours. So there's that. Site's back up. Everything is good. Sorry about the delay here. I figured just a couple minutes of sorting that out before the stream would help me focus a little bit more on the stream instead of being like, I need to, wrap this up early so people aren't waiting even longer. But that's all good. We are back on the game now. Game grind. We're making Elixir Emporium. If you don't know me, I'm one of two Andrews working on this really big crafting RPG. We started out with a very small 2D demo. It's got a very cool alchemy system where you can combine any two items in the game, and it generates new game data based on the items. So lots of cool stuff there. There's also harvesting systems where you can use any item on any object in the game. Also very, very cool. Again, it generates new game data, new recipes, new items, new crafting routines. It's pretty darn cool. We'll go in, we'll show it. I don't know yet what all we're going to work on. We're getting closer and closer to a demo. So we've got like some bigger systems we could work on. Like maybe we'll work on quest stuff. Last week we worked on NPC brains, which is very, very cool. I'll show off as well. Each of the NPCs in the game they actually have like a internal loop of thoughts that basically lets them dictate what actions they want to do. And with that, they have memories, they have opinions, they have personalities. So they even have like a version of sight. So they get a list of nearby objects in this like brain loop. And it says like where they are in relation to everything else, the distance and all that. So they can basically ask themselves like, hey, what do I want to do? Oh, I see this cool statue over here. I want to go look at that and inspect it a little bit more, learn more about that, form some memories about that. And then maybe they see the player nearby and they're like, oh, I want to go talk to the player. And they'll actually walk over and open the conversation dialogue with the player. Lots of stuff they can do. We are going to add more actions, but we've got a pretty good baseline of them right now. Let me swap on over to the code and let me realize we didn't update our task for this week. We don't necessarily know what we're doing yet, but working on our crafting RPG. That'll do it. We have a short list of things, like really easy wins. I'll probably start with some of those when we get into the code, but I think what we want to do at first, let me just jump in the game. We'll show off some of the systems. Maybe we'll find a bug or two. We can fix those. We'll do something. As soon as it loads on in. Alrighty, this right here, Elixir Emporium. We actually don't know yet where we want the player to start. So we're going to be moving around a lot today. But last week we built up not only brains for all of our NPCs to determine what they wanted to do, but also very like primitive brains. It turns off some of the AI stuff, so we can give that to animals. So we've also got like cats and kittens that have a set of actions they can complete, and their primitive brain just like picks random actions versus thinking about it on the AI side, which is kind of cool. But you'll also see like the NPCs in town are going to start walking around. We haven't done animations and stuff yet, but this guy was working at the furnace, and now he's going to go look at something else. Maybe he's going to go around and grab something out of his toolbox or do something else. It's kind of hard to tell. We need to figure out how to increase that visibility of like what they're actually doing. I think it'll be a lot clearer when they have animations. So you'll see him like when he's looking at stuff, he'll, do the animation. When he's working on stuff, he'll hammer on the anvil, he'll hammer on the furnace, and so on. But that's kind of cool to see. They've been just standing in place T-posing for months, so it's cool to have them just finally coming to life. I also talked briefly about our alchemy system that allows you to combine any items in the game. Let's say if we grab some tall grass here with our bare hands, and then maybe we'll use scissors for some other tall grass. But you'll see the first time that you interact with any object in the game, you're actually going to do some research, which at the end is going to give you a big drop of XP and skills to kind of make it a little bit nicer. But you'll see tools have like scissors, you get crafting XP when you use it. If we then use scissors on this tall grass, we're going to research again because we researched with our bare hands first. Now we're going to research with scissors. We're basically filling out a lot of these crafting recipes. So they are generated on the fly the first time you do it, but from then on they are static. If you ever want cut grass, to always use scissors on grass. If you want a handful of grass, use your hands on grass. So you're going to get like lots and lots of items effectively this way, and you can make your own tools even. But if we take, let's see, if we take a handful of grass and some bread, maybe we'll make some kind of food. Some not very tasty food. And that's a good segue into showing off. We have a lot of different item types. So we made some grass wrapped bread, which doesn't, it does have an image, right. I forgot we removed it from the tooltip. So you can eat it, regain some health, and that generates that item on the fly. It generates that recipe. So from now on, you always get that. You're going to get alchemy XP every time you do some alchemy in the game. But you could also say, like, I want to combine scissors and an axe, see if we can get a new tool that does something cooler. And we can run around while we're doing that. But, you can just eat stuff. Doesn't really do much. We don't have a lot of affixes implemented yet. But the systems for deciding the affixes is all in place. So we just need to implement like recovering health. Hey Tony, hey, welcome on in. For anybody watching, this is the other Andrew working on the game with me. He's a cool guy and he's here to vibe. So we crafted up our lumberjack's friend, which also gives us crafting XP when we use it. But you can make some wild tools, like if you figure out how to make a telescope, take that telescope over to like a bush. I have no idea what you're going to be getting when you craft or when you harvest from a bush with a telescope, but we'll get some divinity XP, which is one of our 8 skills we're working on. So we're getting mysterious berries, which gives us peripheral vision when we eat them, which is kind of cool. So if you eat those, you'll see camera is zooming on out. We've got this nice, very cartoony UI that I'm in the middle of redesigning, but you'll see all your buffs in that now. I kind of like the idea of how these health potions and things are set up. I kind of want to do something like the resource vials that you see in other games, but I also like the idea of having labels on them that kind of obscure some of them. So it's kind of hard to see without zooming in. Can I? Nope. But yeah, we showed off some systems. Let's go look at that real fast. And we've got our coffee here again today, so surely it's going to be just fine. But what I was thinking with these labels is, in a lot of games, you only have a few points that you really care like about your health, like or points that make it more, that raise the tension. So if you think of like Minecraft, Diablo, Skyrim, whatever, if you're at 100% health, you don't really care about your health. If you're at 75% health, you're like, I'll probably be fine. Like, I guess I should probably heal. But again, you don't really care about your health. 50% health, maybe you like start worrying a little bit. But below 50%, you're like, all right. I need to keep an eye on my health. Like, things are happening. I might die. So I was kind of toying with the idea of having some sort of let's just show this off. Having some sort of label that obscures how much health you have until you get to one of those points that you like start caring about your health. And so what that does is two things. One, it kind of adds a little bit more tension, I would say, to all of these points that you normally wouldn't have any tension of, like, oh yeah, I have 75% health, I'm fine. If you can't see your actual health level here, this is a pretty extreme example of not being able to see anything, but if you can't see your health level here, you might be a little bit more cognizant of like, oh, what have I been doing? Have I taken any damage? Am I potentially close to this? So adding a little bit of tension that way, but also what it'll do is make that point, that threshold of where you cross over into that, like, oh crap, I need to like be careful and stuff. It's a lot more abrupt. So if you see your health, like right now it's full, if it's dropping down, like you don't necessarily see things. But once it gets down to here, like, oh crap, I'm almost out of health. Like I need to chill, I need to heal. And so it basically gives a way to like give players a lot more health, but does away with this weird threshold in the top half where they don't really care about how much health they have. So this is a really extreme example of the label, but I'm just trying to line them up right now. But it's kind of a cool way of like health, you only really care about the bottom half, but maybe another example of mana, if you have your mask or your label on the bottom, maybe like this, and you're in the middle of battle and you're not sure whether you have this much mana or this much mana, it's going to be a lot more tension inducing to be like, all right, I need to manage my resources because I don't necessarily know exactly how much mana I have. I just know kind of what region I'm in. I don't know if that'll be fun or not, but I'm just playing with it for now. And I mean, as we've said a few times, we don't have combat in the game yet anyway. Maybe we'll add it soon. I want to try and get this demo out without needing to add combat just for the sake of getting this demo out sooner, but we'll see. Welcome in, Anthrax. How's it going? Who is this guy next to the health? And that is a placeholder for our alchemist. As we figure out like the more high level questions of how long we want runs to be and like how we want characters and worlds and stuff to interact, I think we'll lean a lot more into the RPG elements. And obviously that includes creating your character, customizing your character, all that jazz. So that's kind of a reminder to me to have some sort of visual representation there to show off to the player, like, hey, yeah, this is your character, and here are his resources, or her resources. Or it could just be John Alchemy. But yeah, that's kind of what I was doing with that. Again, it's still very placeholdery since we're not using these resources, but it's kind of a cool idea, I thought. But yeah, I think maybe we can... I showed off some of the systems in the game. We've got like a list of small wins that I just kind of noted down before the stream for things as I was running around that I noticed that maybe we can fix. And actually I did fix a couple of these right before the stream, but I want to make sure that they're fixed too. But, you know, we have a couple of interesting things we could add, like more edge cases and things. For example, when your inventory is full and you harvest from a tree, you get some logs. If you don't already have logs in your inventory to stack onto, where should those logs go? You probably want to, like, we have dropped items in the game. What we could do is just drop an item real fast and like throw it on the ground so the player can pick it up. We can interrupt the harvest. Like, that's a slightly larger thing. Maybe we don't want to jump right into that. But, you know, maybe what we can do is just YOLO and start on quests. The bottles for health and mana and such are very goofy, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Yeah, I think the actual like visual representation of them is very goofy, and I don't necessarily like it. I definitely want to replace it with more like bottles in the same style as the rest of our UI. But I kind of like the thought behind it, the mechanics behind it. I just don't know if it'll actually be fun. So we'll build it and we'll test it. Maybe we'll have this in for the demo and people can tell us if they like it or not. But it might feel bad to just not know, like, do I have 70% health or do I have 40% health or whatever it is. So it's an idea. At least make the mana potion level with the ground. The thought was to have it a little further back on the shelf, but yeah, we should just align them, I suppose. Let's do that real fast. I mean, it was meant to be a little pushed back on the shelf. You know what? We could tilt the bottle. You know what? Let's just make it easy. Let's unset that so we can move this freely. Kind of align these guys a little bit better. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, the shadow is very, like down here is very hard to align. But I guess we can just align them all with the banners that we've got explaining them. So should we do our regular potion as well? Bring that down a little bit too. Probably so. And it looks weird because... oh, you were talking about the surface of the liquid. Oh, yeah. I see. Alright, let's move this back. I did kind of like the offsetness, but it is a little bit weird to have these shadows here. But yeah, let's see. Why is the liquid not level with the ground? Yeah, it's meant to slosh back and forth effectively as you like move the camera. But yeah, it looks super weird with it just not level. So let's level it out for now. Maybe we can add that sloshing a little bit later. But I envisioned like when you pan the camera around, all of your potions just like sloshing with the camera movement. I thought that'd be cool. But yeah, until we have that, it looks super weird, I suppose. Let's go ahead and let's take our player out of town, because I think I do want to at least explore like what we need to do for working on quests. And we have a nice single NPC out in the forest that has been really nice for testing NPC stuff where we don't want to necessarily initialize everyone. So let's grab this guy. Bring him back to our nice little druid over here. And let's jump in. Let's check out what like his current quest looks like. Maybe we can try and solve it real fast if it's easy. But just trying to go through the current flow, which we need to kind of rewrite some of the tail end of it already. But there might be some stuff we want to improve on the front end too. But also, fun fact, this guy has his debug text of what he is deciding to do. So he's a little fun, more fun to watch than the guys in town. That is very fun. Oh, yeah. I think it'll look really cool. I think it'll like blend this really flat UI in with the 3D world a little bit better when like you do this and you see the potions jiggling back and forth. We'll see though. Imagine dying and having one of the bottles crack. Like how in some games you got to reclaim your souls where you died, and so your max health is temporarily decreased. Yeah, that's a cool idea, because you could also show like where the crack is in a certain spot, like height wise. So if it's cracked up here, everything would drain out above it. So like you'd be limited on your max up here, but if it cracks down here, like you're pretty limited down there as well. Let's chat to this guy, Tarn Boulderfist, or we can research a tree, I suppose. So his quest in our NPC window that we have right now, it's kind of broken down. He's got a profile picture that we haven't made yet. He has his personality, which we probably won't show. This is kind of just for the demo right now, but this is what influences a lot of his quest generation, his conversation, the things that he decides to do, all that jazz. So he is a druid, I believe, or an earthbender, I suppose. He needs our help. He finds him in a quandary most vexing. Of late, when he bends the earth, it begins to sing in such a piercing melody that it shatters his concentration and disrupts his work. So he's asking us for a potion to silence the song of the earth. And so we can click on some of these like suggested responses. So if we don't necessarily want to make a potion, we could ask about like, do you know the reason it might be happening? And then we could find some new items that maybe we could give him instead. This is all very open-ended quests, so he's not asking for a specific like item we have or an item we can craft. He is actually just presenting a problem he is having, and we have the option to give him anything effectively. And his brain is going to take all this into context, all this into account, and say like, hey, here's my problem. Here's the item the player gave me. Here's the conversation I had, all this jazz. Does this item solve my problem? And that's how we determine if the quest is complete or not. And that's how we follow on to a new quest from there of like, oh, we gave them a potion so he can't hear the song anymore. And so now his next quest is going to be like, well, I can't hear the song anymore, but it's disturbing other people because they can hear it. Or maybe like the potion makes him hear ghosts or something. So it'll be built on however you solved it in the previous quest. So that's kind of cool to see like each NPC having their own kind of plot that you're helping them unwind. And we still need to do more like high level stuff of how to guide those plots, especially as it relates to like tying in multiple NPCs in the same location and making sure everything is consistent and like interacts with each other. But he's a nice little test out here because he's so isolated. So I guess we could also ask, like, are you doing something wrong? Importantly, you can also literally type whatever you want and have conversations that way, which is kind of cool. And the last thing in the NPC window is his inventory. You can buy and sell items. We haven't given him any items, but you can sell him items. You can buy items back and so on. So yeah, let's see if we can maybe craft some sort of potion of silence. So the hard part is like trying to craft this item. So as a player, like I have an idea of something that I might want to craft, and now I'm like, all right, how do I make a potion first of all? How do I have the essence of silence in it? Maybe something with a tombstone will give me like quietness or silence or something as an item. We can use different tools to harvest from the tombstone and get different results. So some inscription rubbing from our hands is not going to be helpful. We'll try mortar and pestle. Maybe we could do maybe like a net. I don't know. Grave dust could get us towards silence. If you ever played like Little Alchemy or any of these games that were popular in like the early 2000s that had you combining elements, so like air plus fire equals smoke, and you're trying to craft things that way, it's a very similar mindset to how you're kind of discovering these recipes in the game here. Oh, ancient cloth could actually be really useful for other things. But basically, a lot of the time you're just going to be kind of exploring, trying things, discovering things. The whole time you're going to be generating new recipes for both harvesting and alchemy. So I guess we can also start doing some alchemy. But let's get some haunted lemons, I suppose. But if we were to take maybe some grave dust and a unicorn tear. What do you get when you combine grave dust and a unicorn tear? I don't know, but sounds like it might be a potion. And there are NPCs in town that you can go buy like vials and potions and stuff to like start out an unfinished potion as well. So we got phantom essence. So not quite like quietness. We really need something that kind of embodies things being quiet. So I'm actually unsure how we would get that. It's a good example of like, as a developer, I want to be playing and just finding these sorts of like high level problems that we'll see from quests and making sure that there are objects in the game that provide resources for the player. So I'm trying to think of what objects would even make sense for even like quiet as a concept. Ghosts and stuff tend to be loud, right? Maybe grave dust's not a good idea. Yeah, that's a good point. Wax or wool to stuff in thine ears. So maybe our ancient cloth, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we can do something with like, let's take our scissors and ancient cloth, see if we can cut it up into like some strips or something. Or it might make like padded scissors or something. So we got a runed cloak. Okay, not quite it. However, we are on the path to like making some magical equipment that maybe we could give him as well. We've got a hoe. We've got a scythe. I wonder what a scythe gives us on a tombstone. And I mean, there is a whole world to discover. There might be stuff like out in the world that might be helpful here. So one other important note is like, until you solve this quest, he will keep this quest. So most of the time the player will be in town where there'll be a dozen NPCs all with different quests, and you can go and see what their quest was. and you can come back to it later after you've like explored and stuff. But out here, we're just trying to get something. So we got Runed Cloak. That's not quite what we're looking for. Quietness is an interesting requirement. And one other thing that, like, I was trying to think of what we might want to change in the beginning of quest generation. We actually have a couple different like prompt scenarios that we can work with. It's a very fantastical scenario right now, but there are other types of quests we could generate. So like when this guy is coming up with his quest, we could even just feed him a list of items in the player's inventory and say, hey, this guy's here to help. Like, do you have any problems that one of his items could help with? Generate a quest for that, and then it'd be a lot easier. So there's definitely like a curve of difficulty we're working within, and we probably want to start out with easier ones and get harder. And we aren't doing that right now, but there's probably a lot of stuff we could do. Ooh, needle and thread, actually, with our ancient cloth. Let's see what we get there. And also, gotta sneeze. Rune-bound garments. Alright, not quite it. Not quite it. Ancient cloth with... Yeah, there's not a lot. I don't even know where you would find, like, quiet. It's such a, like, abstract thing. You'd need to, like, go find, like, tranquility or something, which... You know, there are things planned. So like with the alchemy skill, as you level it up, we want to be able to give you different spells that you can use on items to manipulate them in certain ways. Out in the world, there is items you can find called like uneasy feeling. It's near like a really creepy statue. It's just some dropped items. If you found some of those, you could cast like invert item on it. And I'm sure the opposite of an uneasy feeling is just like relaxation or tranquility or quietness or something like that might be helpful here. But I don't necessarily want to run all the way out there to test, especially since we don't have this spell in the game yet. But maybe let's go look at some of the ways that we generate quests, and maybe we can start there. That scan the player's inventory thing would be good for a beggar character. Yeah, we actually have this guy, Felix, I believe his name is. He is in jail. He is a scammer, so that would be an interesting way to get him to generate quests of like, oh yeah, I really need this pickaxe for some reason. He convinces you to just give him your pickaxe or something. Or maybe you have a really, really cool one that has increased harvest speed and like it's cold enchanted and all these other things, and he generates a quest that is so specific that like only that item could solve it, and you're like, come on, man, I know what you're doing here. Perhaps the player should have the option to turn down a quest they don't believe is within their capabilities. That's a great idea, actually. I think... yeah. I mean, I think absolutely they should. Because we also were talking about, especially when you get these towns worths of NPCs, it becomes a lot more complex in whose quests you help and whose quests you don't. I think it would be worthwhile not only to like turn down quests, but also make things worse. Like if you really, really didn't like this guy and he's like, man, my problem is that every time I get close to somebody else, they become rich and I become poor. And you didn't like him, you could be like, all right, yeah, that sounds great. What do you need? And then you give him the opposite, and maybe everyone around him becomes even more rich from then on, or something like that. I mean, that's a silly example, but rather than a specific option which could encourage them to just re-roll quests over and over, you got to type out, sorry, such a task is not within the reach of my alchemical skill, or something similar, and that would go into an NPC's memory. That's a clever way to do it, because it reminds me a lot of like in a lot of tech sites like GitHub and stuff, if you have destructive actions, they make you type out phrases like that to be like, yes, I understand what I'm doing. This repository's name is this. And then they will do it. That's a clever way to do it. I forgot why we were in town. Oh, right. We were going to look at NPC's quest generation. Also, I have the Studio Ghibli Kiki's Delivery Service soundtrack playing, but there's only a few of them that I recognize. We are actually almost through the entire thing. So let me queue up another album real fast too. All right, we are good there. All right, back to our NPC. Let's trace through what we're doing here. Also, on the topic of like turning down quests and things, we actually do have a work in progress rewrite of that NPC window. So I can show that off real fast. And that'll probably be where we'll want to add some of these new options. But for now, we have our plain NPC window that is very like wall of text, very kind of hard to read. I don't really like how the canned responses will word wrap all the time and all that jazz. But we have some reworked ones that kind of make it a little bit, I would say, nicer, easier to parse. You're only seeing 1 or 2 messages at a time, and you can scroll back manually, but it really highlights like what they're saying right now, your responses. We still need to work with it a little bit more, and it doesn't really have a lot of room for expansion and stuff, but like there's a lot more we want to do with NPCs. So we're probably going to move more towards something like this, but I've also been toying with doing some more like cinematic framing when you talk to an NPC. So if this guy were to talk to this NPC from here, your camera is going to be generally behind him. So I was thinking maybe we can draw a line from these people, get a tangential like orthographic line out perpendicular to that line and bring it up, and then like swing the camera in a little bit so it frames them. Or the Oblivion style zoom into their faces. I guess that would work too. Especially with this new V2 version on the panel. So, trees in the way. But yeah, we could do something like that. But this panel isn't quite done yet, so we'll probably just have the old one for this demo. But let's go through. Let's finally go see how they come up with their quests. So in the NPC window, in the NPC interactable script, we initialize them at the start. Initialize their inventory. Cool. We have some piping for like letting them do conversation without having a quest yet. So like the first time you meet them, they'll probably want to introduce themselves. We aren't using that just for like infrastructure piping purposes. We haven't really figured out how we want to trigger generating quests. We will probably move that into the actions that they can do. So what will happen? Maybe we can just, let's just start. Let's do that. So what we want to do at the start, let's first of all find out where we are generating the quest. We're going to disable it and replace it with just generating introductory messages for them. Because I think what we'll do is have them queue up those messages, and then they have their own loop of like, what do I want to do? And one of those options should be like, I'll reflect on the state of my life and decide on what problem is most important to me. And then that is what will end up generating a quest. And once the player has completed that quest, they'll have like an empty quest slot that they can fill again. So then they'll trigger that action again. But let's figure out how this is working. So how are we even? We have our generate quest for method. I would assume that is called in 2 places. Yes. Oh, right. In the brain. Okay. So we have this initialize brain method that gets called in two cases. One, when the player gets close enough to an NPC, we turn that brain on. And if that brain hasn't been initialized yet, at that point, we initialize it. But also when the player loads into the game, since we're using colliders and we need to check to see if they load in, like resume a game next to an NPC, those on enter colliders aren't going to trigger. So when we initialize their brain, we can go ahead and add their persona as a system message as we do. That's why it shows up gray. We'll probably hide those system messages from the player, but they are included in the conversation history for like the NPC's memories. But let's go ahead and generate an introductory message. Introducing this NPC. A little redundant, but nice and clear. So the way that we do that is interactable NPC. We have our generate introduction message. Great. And it's going to use our existing prompt, which I'll show off in a second. But let's say NPC controller.generate. What is it called? Oh, it's private. It's public now. Generate introductory message. So that's going to kick off a background process, which will do the LLM generation to generate a message for this guy. And then when we get that message, it adds it to the conversation history for that character, spoken from them. And then I think we'll disable quest generation from there, because we want to move that into an action. So this should be fine. Let's go ahead and disable our quest generation here as well. And let's load on in. Let's make sure this works. I'll show off the prompt for that. Where even was that stored actually? That uses conversation database prompt NPC introduction date. So that prompt is just, we give them name, profession, and personality. They introduce themselves. Okay, yeah, seems fine. Let's also upgrade that to 4.0 since it has come out since the last time we worked on this prompt. And I should have closed that NPC window, but we'll just close it manually in the game. All right, so he should be, well, we did get an error, but he should have been generating his introductory message. I wonder if NPC controller is not set on him. Let's check that, but we can also talk to him and see. Okay, yeah. So here's his introduction. I wonder, let's add this real fast. I wonder if it is erroring out on the chickens that don't have a brain or don't have an NPC controller on them. We'll put this in for next time we're in the game. All right, so if we just allow him to generate an introductory message, it lets us have a conversation, which is nice. So we could just like ask about earthbending and we continue a conversation that way. We're learning how to earthbend. That's cool. So the question is how, like, when do we want to let the player either say, hey, give me a quest, or effectively force a quest onto the player? Because the player might want to just like continue this conversation. They might want to just vibe and like leave and then come back later and be like, hey, I tried something you were talking about. Can you tell me more? Instead of being forced into talking about a quest. But like here, when we close the NPC panel, in the background, he is summarizing the entire conversation into like a single memory that he keeps. So now when we resume our conversation, or not, I feel like the colliders are very weird. So yeah, it summarized our previous conversation, and now you can continue that on. We probably should. I feel like we might want like a button that says like, do you have any problems I can solve? And or maybe actually what we should do is let them have this sort of conversation. First of all, we should be generating the next response from them next time you talk to them. Since they don't say anything here, we want them to kind of prompt the conversation instead of you having to start it. But maybe what we can do is let them come up with a problem for themselves to generate a quest. And then when they do that, when they have an unsolved quest, we can like put an exclamation point over their head or something to tell the player like, hey, he has something important to tell you. And then that'll override whatever this next message is. And we can do that. We have like a cursor effectively in the conversation history. So what we're doing right now is we manage that cursor and say like, oh, the player has seen all messages up to here. We pre-generate a few messages after that. So next time you open the NPC window, they're instantly available and you can just show them immediately. But we could say once they generate a quest, we can wipe all the messages that the player hasn't seen and like switch to just talking about the quest. Because that's an interesting way to kind of inform the player like, hey, the conversation is going to be about something that you're not necessarily in control of. And then they won't be regenerating new quests until you solve a previous one. So you'll show up in town. Probably most people will have an exclamation point over their head pretty quickly, but once you've talked to them all, then that'll go away and you can go back to regular conversations until you start solving quests. So let's do that. So first of all, we generate our introduction message, which is great. First things first, let's go look at the NPC panel where we summarize the conversation. At the end of that, we want to generate their next message to the player. So that's going to be in NPC window manager. So when we close the window, on window hide, we end the conversation, which has some other stuff like cleanup, but ending the conversation is what summarizes it and saves it to the player's notebook and starts the next conversation. So we can, like, in the notebook, you can actually go see, like, oh, I talked to him at this time. Here are the messages in that conversation. Then I left and came back, and it's a different conversation instead of it all just being like one long conversation you resume. So here, where we start a new conversation, we can go ahead and probably reuse whatever this is getting called. Well, hold on, let's understand this. So we do summarize the conversation here, which does the summary on generated summarized conversations. So we'll get a summary. We add that summary as a system message, I assume. Yes, add it as a system message to the next conversation. So that's how we guide, like, what happens in the next conversation. And then wait, what's the difference between these two? Oh, right. We keep a separate repository of just summarized conversations, so we can query that a little bit nicer than querying all full conversations. But here's where we add the summarized conversation as a system message to the next conversation. So we also want to generate a starting message in the new conversation. So I wonder if this didn't fire. Here. I feel like we should have seen that message. Let's go ahead and let's just trace through. I want to understand the flow of how things are working before we start changing things. It's been over 6 months since I worked in this specific code, I think. That's suspicious. Okay, maybe we won't trace through necessarily. Remember the color blue. Right, you do. Yes, yes, yes. And then we close this. It triggers summary. End conversation gets called when we close the window. It summarizes the conversation. I wonder if there's a race condition here of this is happening in a separate thread. If it completes like instantly, is current conversation being used here? Yes, it is. So if this is actually fast enough, all of this will get done and it'll get added to the current conversation, and then we will clear it. We don't want that. We also don't want to clear it before we summarize. Welcome to the stream today, guys. We are just gonna vibe and bug hunt real slowly, I suppose. Alright, so we are summarizing. I want to be able to trace through. So we do have an error here of the conversation is not in the dictionary. But we were getting errors of memory databases being instantiated, and there should only be one. So I want to make sure like these chickens don't have them. And maybe our cool chicken doesn't have one. Right. I guess we can actually search memory database, I believe. Or whatever it's called. Memory database, yeah. Wait, there should at least be one in the scene. Databases, memory database. Oh, it's T. Oh, and we do have a lot of brains. Where are these guys? Deers. Oh, okay. So yeah, we need to nix those. Even though they're disabled, they will cause issues. Just because of the way singletons are, I guess. I hate when you control click so many things and you forget control on the very last click. Alright, let's remove all of these. We should no longer get those singleton errors, which should let us attach to Unity correctly. So now we can go in and actually see what we're doing. And let's go ahead and add our breakpoint for summarizing, and also when we get our starting message. So we're getting there. Anytime now. Suspicious. What is this song? Alright, we're gonna kill some processes. That should not have taken that long. Right. Why is Visual Studio also opening? Stop this process. This is our same window again? Question mark? Okay. Checking my task manager to make sure we're not doing anything funky. Like, we have plenty of resources. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this song maybe in a second. Maybe not, it's almost over. Alright, so... Alright, we're unattached. Unity is responding. Let's close this UI window. Let's attach to Unity. Let's play. I feel like the last like 3 days I've had so many things just stop working. Okay, so we still have more than one memory database apparently. I guess we didn't double check in the hierarchy that we got them all. Looks like there were 3. Okay. Well, let's double check this while we're in game. Memory database. There's only one. Okay, so this is a reasonable error. We're calling get quest for somewhere. We don't have a quest for this guy, so we'll need to trace back from what's using that. But let's skip that for now. Let's see what happens when we... I bet we're using get quest for to maybe do an initial conversation message. We are using it on the summary, interestingly enough. So let's go ahead and say, let's do a quick little if that we return nothing. So in the case that they don't have a quest, I guess. Let's go ahead and exit this. Feels like I'm flailing around so hard. This music makes it seem so creepy. Yeah, I thought this soundtrack would be a little bit more upbeat. It's the best Studio Ghibli songs. But you know, some of them are, I guess, pretty sad movies. So, you know what? Tony, if you give me a game, I'll put on its soundtrack. Let me know what to hit you with. Alright, let's look at Get Quest 4. Let's see all the places we're using this here. So we do it once when we summarize the conversation, which is probably unnecessary, but nice to have a little extra data point, I guess. We do it when we submit an item for a quest. We do it when we're processing the submitted item for a quest. Yeah, that makes sense. And we do it again in the same place when we're processing that request. And then in the codex window manager, right? Okay. So this is probably what actually errored, because this was probably initializing our codex in the background. We have, again, another memory database. Where is this guy? On a horse. Okay, sure. Does not need memories. Guess I'll double check, like kittens. Yeah, seems fine. Alright, so surely if I search memory database now, we get one result. Okay, we do. Let's go in. Let's see what else we got. We're going to go to some classic Final Fantasy after this song. Alright, so we got a null reference exception again. On the brain. NPC controller is null still. Huh. Okay, let's look at our guy. Player. This guy. Brain. What it does is NPC controller is bodies, generic interactable NPC. Body is the parent game object, so this goes up to the parent, grabs generic interactable NPC. It should be set, but you know what? We'll serialize field so we can see all these in the editor. Or you know what? Let's just make them public for now. A little bit easier to know we want to undo them later. Let's just make a few more public so we make sure that all these references get set on initialization. And we'll try that. We're gonna try and just clear out apparently 226 errors. Hey Kieran, welcome on in. How many monitors do I have? I have 2 monitors. I have aspirations of 3 monitors. I've had 3 in the past and I liked them. The 2 monitors that I have take up most of my desk though, because one of the monitors is like 30 inches or so. It's pretty gigantic. So it's a fun one. Thank you for redeeming Hydrate. Anybody watching, if you have water, you should hydrate as well. I also have coffee here, so we're going to get a little bonus coffee there too. How many monitors do you have, Kieran? Are you upstaging me on 5 monitors? You're thinking of swapping your flanking 24-inch monitors for 27-inch 240 hertz curved ones. That'd probably be nice. I feel like if I had 2 of my large monitors, then it would look a lot, or it would feel a lot nicer. Like my large monitor is large enough that this is ominous music. It's large enough that it kind of feels like 2 monitors on its own, but I also have a small like 1080p screen next to it. So I kind of use it like I have 3 monitors, but I would love to have 2 of the big ones and feel a little bit more like 2 to 4. You got 3 at the moment. Flanking left is vertical. Vertical monitors are good vibes. I wish I had one for code specifically. That was my go-to in the last office that I worked at, is big vertical monitor for code, monitor next to it for tests and stuff. You're worried about the space. Get a bigger desk. I would say it's usually worth it. But yeah, once you have large monitors and multiple monitors, it's a pretty hefty space commitment, I'd say. Now we're going to see if this NPC has all the references that he should have, because it seems like he doesn't. It's possible he's getting them like after the brain is initializing, because these are all set. It's kind of cool to see all the state check boxes change. Okay, so I wonder if these are for the chickens, maybe? This is a warning. Can we enable warnings and go look? Yeah, they're for the chickens. All right, so that's fine. It's not really a bug. We just want to do this stuff if there is an NPC controller for this entity. This song takes me back. Reckon it would be overkill for 5 monitors. Yeah, it might be. But, I mean, at that point, you can start, like, mounting monitors on the wall and, like, doubling up vertically. So, could be pretty cool. I just worry that you'd be, like, destroying your neck all day. Like, with this monitor that's already pretty large, it's, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable looking above this monitor. So another screen on top of that sounds fun. I did that a little bit with, I was using a VR headset for development for a while where I'd use virtual desktop, which rather than using like pass through, it simulated your monitor screens in VR, so it was like super crisp and you could read all the text, but it also let you add more monitors. And I had one above me that worked really well for like YouTube and like Netflix, but it was kind of hard to get a working setup where I also wanted to be looking up and like developing like this. But could also be nice for having the more curved monitors around you, maybe. What were we doing? Let's go look and see how Tarn's conversation is working, because we should have breakpoints on when he ends the conversation. There he is. All right, so did he already talk to us? This sure seems like a summary and a follow-up message. It seems like everything works. However, this is what we would expect if we had already talked to him and then talked to him. So we're going to just try again. I forgot what I was doing enough. I might have gone in, talked to him, and then left. So we'll just double check that. And maybe things will go a little bit faster if I turn off the profiler. I bet so. Also just realized that I queued up the Final Fantasy music. It played one song and we got kicked back to Studio Ghibli. Alright, close the profiler. We're good, we're good. Let's test this. I feel like we haven't written any code. We're like an hour into the stream, but apparently that's how it always goes. Oh yeah, way faster without the profiler. That's reassuring. Alright, so we should be able to just talk to this fella. He has a introductory message. He has his personality here. Cool, cool, cool. I actually am a mountain. See what he says to that. He believes us, I guess. Let's go ahead and close that. Trigger the summary, which I would expect to be knocked over into here. PC window manager. End conversation. Yeah, this didn't hit a breakpoint. Let's see if he summarized the conversation. I think I know the bug here. Let's see. Encounters a speaking mountain, parentheses, you. Expresses unique intrigue and humility. Okay, so it did summarize and it did create a follow-up message for him. Okay. Well, that technically works, I guess. I don't understand because we didn't change anything. I don't know why it didn't work before, but maybe all those other errors with like chicken brains and memory databases were causing stuff to back up. All right, so in that case, things work. Let me check GitHub. I feel like I just want to double check what we've changed. Okay, we made things public. We have a check. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, that shouldn't have caused it to not work. Oh, you know what it was? It was this check here. We were erroring on trying to grab the active quest for an NPC so we could insert it into prompts. But it was erroring because we didn't have an active quest. So now that we're just returning an empty string, then we can continue on execution. So, okay, cool. So now what we want to do is basically hack in an action for NPCs to be able to do, that is, generate a quest. Kieran made a bologna and cheese sandwich. That could be very good, but my question for you is, what kind of cheese did you use? Because there's one kind of cheese that you better not have used, but otherwise it's probably really good. Answer correctly. Let's see here. So if we want to add actions, we gonna clean up some of our tabs. in our brain, we have a list of allowed actions. Let's add generate quest. Generate new quest. Tasty cheddar. All right, I'll allow it. Is it American cheese that everyone hates? It's like the bologna of cheese. I don't mind bologna. Cozy hates bologna, and she also hates American. So if you went in her stream and told her that you made her an American and bologna sandwich, she might implode. But I'm down with a cheddar and bologna sandwich. What's wrong with bologna? I think it's just one of those things that, like, people don't like Spam because they don't know what it is. But Spam is delicious, so bologna is also pretty delicious sometimes. I used to eat it a lot with cheddar, actually. Is she still sick? I think she's doing a lot better. We both had our vaccinations, both COVID and flu, and so we're both kind of knocked out for a day or two, but she's doing a lot better. Spam is comfort food, spoken like a true Aussie. But yeah, Spam is super good, especially with like on Musubi, like just fry it up on literally anything. It's delicious. All right, so the question is, how do we map a generate new quest action to a new action? And the answer is we just look at the NPC brain, I believe. I think we have our switch here, yeah. So we say case generate quest queued actions dot add last new action generate NPC quest. Don't know what we want to give it yet, but let's go look at action go home as a template. Let's grab this. Can we make another one of these? Action go home. Find where it's at. And create something here for the create menu is different in Unity 6. All of our custom stuff is at the bottom now. Interesting. Action generate NPC quest. Spam is like ham but fancy. Agreed. I would say spam is also like bologna but fancy. Spam rice egg goes hard. Spam mee goreng an egg. I haven't heard of that. Where's my browser window? Mee goreng. Is it the noodles? Stir-fried noodle dish. Oh. I mean, that'd probably be real good. We went out to... My brain is blanking. I want to say Bayesian, but that is a math term and not a country. Not Bermudan. We went out and had a really good egg and noodle dish the other day. It was very, very good. What the heck was that place? Burmese. That's what it was. We had some real good Burmese food that other day. Was delicious. Would recommend. You gotta try these noodles. Mee goreng is very good. It's a staple for Asian Aussies here. Okay. I'll try it. Yeah, I guess I haven't really seen many like Australian restaurants near me. I don't know where else. Is it a different, like, is it a specific Asian cuisine that I can look for? Like a restaurant of that style that might have it? It's kind of hard for me to ask you, like, hey, where in America do I get this thing? But trying to narrow down where the dish is from. Action generate NPC quest. Cool. We probably don't need much. Let's close all that. Cool. Generating a quest. All right, that's an empty action that NPCs can do. Hawker Chan might have it. I do not know what Hawker Chan is. But it is a Singaporean eatery, so maybe that is a lead for me to check out. Maybe find some Singaporean food. Alrighty, so to generate a quest, we actually have an existing flow, which is super nice. So we have generate quest for somewhere, I believe. Yes, this guy. So here, when we execute, just gonna generate for a persona, which means we need a persona passed in. What we probably want to do is like to do clean up any existing quest data. So we're like starting over effectively every time it generates a new quest, so we don't have some weird state collisions. But this guy will make a coroutine. At the end, it'll set the quest for. Cool. So we can check to see if it's complete by tracing through here and seeing what it does at the end. Active quest for in the database. So we can do a get request for, and if it's set at all, then it's complete, and if it's not set, then it is still working. So we will say return quest database dot get quest for persona. It's not equal to string.empty. To avoid any race conditions here, let's go ahead and just say set quest for persona is string.empty, so it's cleared out, and then we kick off this generation, and then when it is not cleared out anymore, that's when this is complete. Yeah, Singaporean noodles are the best in my opinion, but the cuisine around there is pretty similar. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I don't know all the different Asian cuisines very well. I usually lean towards like Thai, Japanese, Chinese. There's so many more countries that I'm not very familiar with the specifics of all the cuisines, so it's always fun to get the references and suggestions to go try it out. The song goes hard. What is this song actually? Oh, we're back. I keep queuing this soundtrack up, but we are back to Studio Ghibli, Princess Mononoke. Don't know if you've seen it, but I was just talking about it with some guests this weekend. Very sad movie. It's from your favorite movie. Okay. So you have seen it. Awesome. I feel like I saw it like a really long time ago. I vaguely recall it, but I should probably watch it again sometime. But all right, so this now should work. We do have an error compilation wise, right? Because we need to pass in the persona. But the missing piece that we have is we don't necessarily want this NPC to always have this learned action as an option, because obviously we want to only have them generating quests when they don't already have a quest. In our current system, you basically specify like everything they can do, and the brain decides what they want to do. So we could put it in here, and he could be regenerating new quests. This is what we would do if maybe we wanted him to be able to generate a quest, and then like if the player doesn't solve it, they could generate another one later and just ignore it. But what I think I want to do is just go into the brain, and when we have our loop of like what do I want to do, I want to check to see if they currently have a quest, and if they don't have a quest, I want to inject this as an action that's valid. But if they do have a quest, we don't want this. So let's generate next queued action to do in here. So it grabs all our sensory input. Here's where we do the actual brain processing of like, here's everything you know, what do you want to do? Here's where we put in our enabled actions. So let's go ahead and kind of inject in here. Duplicate learned actions and add in any one-off actions the NPC might also want to do. So let's say possible actions is, sure, new list from learned actions. And we can say if quest database dot get quest or dot instance dot get quest for this persona is not equal to string dot empty, or I guess if it is equal to string dot empty, so they don't have a quest right now, then we want to say possible actions dot add generate quest, generate new quest. And then we can just use possible actions here instead of learned actions, so we can add stuff to that without modifying the list. So now anytime the NPC doesn't have a quest, one of the things that they can do is generate a quest, but they don't necessarily all generate a quest right at the beginning of the game. They can like talk to you first. So let's see that in action first, because we still have a little bit of work to do in like clearing out the queued messages that they will send you the next time you talk to them. We want to clear out anything that they've queued up to say like from the normal conversation. And instead we want to have them start talking about the quest instead. Go wishlist Elixir Emporium on Steam. So let's see if we can get him to say like generating quest over his head. And for anybody watching, we also have a Discord for our studio, but also for this game. We'll have a demo for this game soon. I know it's taken a while, but there's a lot to do. But we will be posting a lot in the Discord when the demo is a lot closer. So we'll be looking for players and people who want to play it, and maybe people who want to stream it and stuff. So join if you want in on that. How soon? We wanted the demo out like early November originally, but we've had a few things kind of push it back. But really the thing that is missing at this point is this new quest system. We were waiting on NPC memories, which now work. We were waiting on NPC brains, which like for determining what they want to do, which now works. We need to finish up the quest system, but past that, like a lot of the stuff that is still to be done is things like animations, sound effects, like more game level stuff. And I don't know that we necessarily need that in a technical demo, but we have like all of our alchemy system, we have our skills in, we have lots and lots of stuff to test out. So hopefully soon is the answer. I don't want to promise a specific day because I go real hard on crunching to make sure I hit that. But hopefully soon. This guy doesn't seem that he has generated a quest. I haven't really seen it. It's inspecting a chicken. Let's see. Okay. I mean, it is possible that he can generate a quest and he has just not chosen to. I wonder also if he talks to us more often when we're like closer to him. He probably does. Will there be a Christmas tree? You know, we have a town over by this tree that is like very fall themed and kind of like Halloween themed. And we have a desert that's kind of like, I mean, it's very summery. But we could definitely do some sort of Christmassy area. I love the snow, and I would love to do some like shaders of snowfall and like footsteps in the snow and all that jazz. Um, but yeah, we can do a Christmas tree for sure. It'd be fun to harvest from. So he is still asking us about what seems like a quest. So maybe he did create a quest, and each time he's talking to us, he's asking if we've completed it. But actually, we should be able to see the quest here. Active quest is nothing. Okay. We probably should also summarize the title instead of always just being conversation about frogs. Yeah, there's so many small things like that that also we probably should get in for the demo, but it just pushes the timeline back of like small bugs of, yeah, the conversation about frogs needs fixed. Like this doesn't always scroll correctly. When you close a conversation, you don't necessarily go back to the right page. Like we've been doing bug fix days, but there's plenty of them. But I think this guy has a quest now, and what we can do to test that, I guess, is if we give him an item. All right. Chill. If we give him an item, he should weigh it against his quest. And I think we might end up solving this bug next, where whenever you click in the game, what it does is fire a raycast at your cursor, and we go in a loop over all of the things that you've clicked on. So like here, you click on him, you click on the bush, you click on the terrain, all the stuff simultaneously, and we're trying to figure out which one is closest to you to interact with. And I think we're probably excluding NPCs from that, because what you'll see is if you click on him with something else in the background, you actually go interact with that thing instead. But if you just click on him, it'll open the conversation. So let's give him a crucible. So if he doesn't have a quest, this is going to error. Okay, so he does have some sort of quest. Are you able to recruit a companion like in Skyrim? Not yet, but I do think that that wouldn't be that hard to make, actually. Because all these NPCs are built with the same sort of system where, like in town, they have certain actions that they can do. Like these are pretty normal for an NPC in town, but it wouldn't be that hard to have actions of like attack nearby enemies, follow the player, pick up dropped item, like these sort of things that companions do. And then if you were to convince an NPC to join you, or like their friendship score is high enough, like however you want to trigger that recruiting, we can swap out all those actions and just let them exist as an NPC that chooses between those. So instead of these, their actions are like follow the player, attack nearby enemies, do whatever companions do. So we could do that pretty easily, I think. But I think we still need to figure out how we want relationships with NPCs to pay off. And that's probably the route we'll go. But we also have some plans for like, they'll give you gifts and stuff based on what they know about you, if they like you and stuff like that. So it's a cool idea. I like that. So what we want to do, let's Let's go look at where we generate the quest. So let's make sure there's not any weird things here. Active quest, we're just initializing. If we already have something, we are overwriting it. Otherwise we set it, that's fine. And then we add a queued message about the quest. For the quest details. Is that right? So here, generate quest 4. Oh wait, set quest 4 is what we're looking at, which we definitely don't want that to add a message. So let's say, let's actually just make a nicer helper method. Let's say public void clear quest 4 persona. And we actually want this to just set it equal to null, or string.empty. So if contains key, then persona is equal to string.empty. If it doesn't, then we can add that. So now we can instead clear quest 4. That I think makes a lot more sense. That's nicer code. And then when we generate the quest, that's where we actually generate like the quest dialogue and stuff, and then call set quest 4 with it. But when we do this, we want to not just add it as a queued message. We want to like clear all other queued messages that the player hasn't seen and replace them with this. And also enable exclamation mark on NPC head. So maybe this is more visual. Maybe that's a good thing to do first. Just to make sure this is all like flowing the way we think it should. But let's take a quick look at add queued message for conversation, because it's just going to add to it. Add to the current conversation, which is not cleared, I don't think. So it should be fine. But let's put a breakpoint there just so we can go in and inspect it. But an exclamation mark on their head. We can do that pretty quickly, surely. So let's build that. Say quest marker, or important, we'll just call it quest marker, that's fine. We don't need to generalize it that much. So in here we can create a 3D sphere and a 3D capsule. Ta-da, it's an exclamation point. So we just scale these bad boys down. Line them a little bit better. Move this guy up. It's a little wonky. Still a little big maybe. And theoretically, I mean, this debug billboard won't be here in the game, but a quest marker will be, so it should take priority of where things are. So it's kind of visible. Let's give these a little bit better color maybe. Type material. What do we got? Let's just play with some materials, see if we can get something that looks somewhat nice. That could be fine. It's nicer than the like typical red, I think. Could also do wood. Nah. Something funky. Something animated could be cool also. You know, that's not bad. It's kind of weird, like, shapes on it, but we could even make it rotate a little bit like that. Could be worse. Let's say rotate on y-axis, speed of like 50, and yeah, that seems fine. Something like more yellow would probably be a little nicer though. Ooh, I don't know if like a cloudy thing would work well. Probably not, actually. This would probably be really nice for the potion UI. Let's grab this name so we can search it later. Since I don't want to get too sidetracked here. Something yellowy, maybe. Fiery, maybe. Ooh, that was a good one. If it's not too foggy. Huh. I don't know what's going on there. Interesting. Skyboxes, I think we can skip over those. You know what, this is a good placeholder color there. All right, lastly, let's bring capsule down just a little bit more. Just trying to make it look a little tighter. And let's, want to bring it up. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so there's a fine quest marker on NPCs we can reuse. So what we'll do is on the brain, let's add a public game object quest marker container. So now when we initialize our action of creating a quest, we also want to pass in a brain. So here we'll need a private NPC brain. That, yep. And then, we might want to end up redoing this so we can specify our own callback. Because we want to enable that afterwards. But we can't just like dot set active true. What is this? Oh, right. Brain dot this dot set active true is what we want, but we want to wait for this to happen until after the quest is over. So what we can do is say on, what delegates do we have? On item created. Let's grab one of these, take it over to quest database, have some nice delegates we can work with here and say on new quest generated. We can say string quest text. So now in this action, we can have a new method that is private void Are we playing the game now? Why did this kick me out? We're not in play mode. We will detach that. On quest generated, sure. Here is where we can set that active, so we just want to make sure that this gets called when this is done. So we will pass that as a callback here on quest generated. So now we want to accept a delegate here. And that is going to be on new quest generated. Unity crashed. Okay. Callback. And you know what? We can even keep our interfaces the same. But let's do this. And we'll say if callback is not equal to null, we will also call that as well. So this has its own callback for when the LLM's done to like use that data. But then once that data has been used, we can call whatever callback the consumer needed to call. So here, we will generate the quest. It'll do all of its own stuff. And then when it's fully done, we call this. We set the brain marker active. Cool. Now let's get back into Unity. So for this guy, close that. Set our quest marker. The rest of it gets set on the game initialization, so I'm not too worried about all those being blank. A little weird to see though. Yeah, this might be all we need. So this action is only available when they don't already have a quest. It clears their quest, waits until it has a new quest, and then is marked done, so they're not going to try and do other actions in the meantime. And when he has a quest, he will set this quest marker to true. So to close this, we want to hide that quest marker when you next go talk to that NPC, because it's an indicator of they have a quest, a new quest to tell you about. We don't necessarily need to keep it active the whole time they have the quest. So in our NPC window manager, on window show, we can hide any active quest markers on this NPC. Do we have a reference to get back to this NPC? How do we want to pipe this data around? We could get a reference of like shown persona. We could also have shown NPC controller. I'm sure shown persona gets set here. Okay. And then this is called on interacting. So we could like pass through this instead. Maybe we should do that. Let's just do that real fast. So here instead we have an NPC. Generic. What the heck class was that? Generic interactable NPC. Generic interactable NPC. And let's call this NPC shown persona. We say NPC dot persona. Persona.persona name, the persona.profession, persona.avatar, etc. All this is off the persona, but now we also have a reference to the NPC as well. So on this, we can have a method that clears. Oh, it's on the brain, isn't it? That's fine. Let's move it back to the. Let's see. This quest marker container doesn't necessarily need to be on an NPC brain because we'll have brains on like chickens and stuff, I suppose. So we're moving it up to generic interactable NPC. In the window manager can now, before window show, say NPC, what do we call it? Oh. Shown NPC is equal to NPC. We can say shown NPC dot quest marker container dot set active false. Cool. Let's save this. Private generic interactable NPC shown NPC. So this is set anytime you show this window. We're just saving a reference to what NPC you were talking to. And so now when you open the window with an NPC, if they have a quest marker on them, we'll turn it off. So we need to update that reference. I would be surprised if we didn't have an error somewhere. I feel like I'm missing something, but where's our NPC controller? Oh, right, because we have the error, it didn't compile, so we don't have the new field. So instead of brain, we actually want NPC controller. Generic interactable NPC. NPC. This.NPC. Right. Not an NPC brain. Alright, so that all stores the reference correctly. Let's go update this to point to this quest marker. Surely we have. Alright. Instead of passing in the brain, now we are passing in the body. Or not. The NPC controller. We're getting there. Alright, compiled. Or showed at least. So now we should have another field here. Cool. Quest marker container. We set that. Let's make sure it's off by default. And so now, when we play, it should stay off until the NPC has generated a quest for itself. We'll double check that. We still need to clear out unseen messages besides that quest, but at least now we can make sure the flow is working because we have something visual. So I wonder if they'll do it like first thing. Inspecting, moving closer to a dropped item. We still need to let them pick up dropped items too, but not that important. Coming to talk to us. So it's an introductory message. Cool, cool, cool. We close this. He's headed home. He hasn't generated a quest yet because he doesn't have the marker. Surely. Let's watch from a little bit further away. We're just going to chill and let him make his own decision, I guess. Cool, cool, cool. We need to increase the interaction range on some of these so he doesn't, or the stopping distance at least, so he doesn't just go stand on things. He's probably going to come talk to us. It should be another, like, just general conversation message. Mending the rifts. Okay, so it sure looks like he generated a quest, and now he's talking about it. But maybe not. We also still want to lock him in place whenever he's talking to you. I don't think we have a good way to check to see what quests have been set. Nah, because it's all in a dictionary, which you can't really serialize that well in the inspector. So, talking to us again. When we turn on quest marker, it looks like this. Sure, sure, sure. Alright, here's what we want to do then. Let's disable all of his actions, so the only thing that he can do is generate a quest. And he'll only have that action if he hasn't already generated a quest. We will set a breakpoint here so we can catch it when he does that. And then we'll set a breakpoint here so we know when it's done. Unable to find a corresponding location. Do we have no? Suspicious, okay. Okay. Maybe it's because it's not derived from mono behavior. But we can go over to our singleton and breakpoint here for when any quest gets set for anyone. So let's see if we can trigger that. He doesn't have any actions he can do other than immediately generating a quest. Demo soon. Hell yeah, Tony. We got this. I think when we wrap up quests, it's going to feel a lot more like closed loop, because it's fun to run around and just craft a bunch of stuff, but when you don't have a use for those items, it's pretty hard to just like keep running around and crafting stuff because you're like, I can't really do anything with these. So I think giving a purpose to the items, whether through quests or combat or whatever, will make it feel a lot more complete. Okay, so this guy's not doing quest generation. So we're going to put another breakpoint in where we specify what actions are available to him to make sure that it's being listed as a possible action. So here, next time he makes a decision, surely it'll kick us back to Visual Studio. There's a 10-second timer on if he's been doing an action for too long, it'll kick him back and it'll make a new action. So maybe that'll kick in. Maybe not. Did we have errors? Why are we not, you know what, I should get rid of this. Kind of polluting the log errors pretty hard. I just wanted to be able to see it. Okay, this is fine. So, alright, we'll go up the loop further. In our NPC brain, update, handle actions. Breakpoint at the top level. Okay, we immediately hit it. Learned actions is 3. On whom? On a chicken. Okay. So we need to find a good way to only do this on... Okay, we got time, luckily. So his learned actions are 0. And yes, I guess that makes sense. We have this early break for skipping over stuff. So actually what we want to do is not that, because now we are dynamically adding actions. So queued actions is 0, so we're not doing anything currently, and we're not deciding on something to do. Then we want to generate something to do. So when we go in here, here is where we have possible actions, and we can move our shortcut here and say, if possible actions is 0, we don't need to pass all this to the LLM. We can just do nothing. And we should probably also look in here. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point since we're just picking a random action. As long as we don't error here. Let's do that. So now we will get an action even if they have 0 learned actions, and we'll just inject the one that we want to be able to dynamically add, and they'll get their action and they'll execute it. So let's try that. This is going to be a pain to exit out of potentially. Oh right, because all the chickens don't have real actions. I thought it'd keep kicking me back out. Alright, so now we took out the shortcut that was preventing him from making any decisions because he thought he had no possible actions to do. Turns out if he just thought a little bit harder, he could think of something to do. So let's see what he does now. We should see him immediately say, generating quest, and then get an exclamation point over his head. And he should do nothing else. Okay, so we're in here. Let's see who we're working with here. Got our body. Let's pin that, bring it down so we don't have to keep scrolling up. And so if we jump through, possible actions is 1. So the only thing you can do is generate a new quest. Let's just let him go on through. So maybe in a second it'll have generated. Okay, we're working with something. Unless this is... Okay, it's him again. Interesting. Alright, so now we'll actually roll through, I guess. So we do a prompt. On new action decided is something we should probably also break for. Our filled out prompt looks like this. So generate new quest is a valid action. Cool. We continue. We wait and see if it gets... Okay, we got an action. Generate new quest. Ooh, okay. So it's actually, that's something we can use. Let me view this better. So in the target field, it's actually using its sensory input and the stuff that we've given it to have like a quest description. But we kind of want it to be more like targeted towards quests for the player, like their own problems. We could call it like identify personal problem, and then they would probably identify something that needs solved for them. But here, this is more for like generating a higher level of what they want to do, which could decompose into other tasks if we want. But it is cool that it uses all the nearby objects of like collect sap from this maple tree. There's a barrel there. Place it under the haunted lemon tree over here to do this. Okay. So when we switch, why didn't it hit our decided actions? Name is generate new quest. What did I call it? Generate quest. Okay. Let's just exit out of this because it's all going to be just from a typo on our part. Generate new quest. And that is the big downside of these sort of like string switches instead of switching on enum name. Okay. Yeah, I think we can skip over the quest target because we want to actually have them think a lot more and like potentially branch around, do other stuff. We'll put all the quest generation logic over in the quest database. We don't necessarily need them to decide at that point what to do. Although it would be cool because at that point we have some context on what's around them. Which we'll probably also have when completing the quest. So they could generate a quest of like, hey, can you clear this field of all this tall grass? Because in their brain they would see a list of like 20 tall grass near them. And then you could talk to them later and they would have a list of there's no tall grass near them. So then they might flip over and say this quest is done. How do we want to do this? I mean, we could, let's just customize the prompt real fast. See if we can get it into a state that is usable. So if we go over to, how do we want to do this? Let's see what prompt our brain uses. Here uses NPC database prompt internal decision making. We go NPC database over here. And we can even just say like, any quest generation should be done from the perspective of what they need from the player. So the player can gather them an item or kind of item to solve a specific problem they're having. I mean, that's too specific because we also want to allow for just like, go do this thing or go remove these things, go talk to this person, etc. But this will work for now. So now, let's go back in. We'll see generate new quest is the action. We'll get a kind of sneak preview in what that target looks like. Never knew about Japanese country roads. Actually, I was just talking about the movie that this is from yesterday. It's called A Whisker Away. And if you watch it dubbed, you get the English country roads song. It's probably silly either way you watch it, but they play this song like 6 or 7 times throughout the movie. It's actually like a great movie, I think. Would recommend. It's called A Whisker Away. All right, so possible actions is just one. Just generate new quest. So we're going to do it. When we get our quest, we'll get kicked back into Visual Studio. So he is saying, like, what do I want to do? He's deciding I want to make a quest. So his decided action is now generate new quest with no target. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to generate a new NPC quest here. Let's go ahead and make sure we have, I guess we don't need the breakpoint here. We'll continue. This is for him again. Maybe because we took so long. Let's just play. So now we are setting a quest. Interesting. It seems there was an issue retrieving the specific details from my previous quest for you and how you assisted. Okay, so that's not what we want for sure. So why... That came from our quest generation prompt. I wonder what we sent. Continue, continue, continue. Let me off Mr. Bones' wild ride. No. All right, we'll just detach. It's fine. Okay, so why... That type of response usually happens when you don't pass in data for a token that you set. But let's go to our quest database. Let's see. Let's go look at generate quest. All right, we'll just trace through then. Let's see. From here, generate a new NPC quest, generate quest for, here's our prompt. If we previously generated a quest for, interesting, I wonder how that works. Active quest. Oh, yeah, that's, okay. Yeah. So what probably happened was this was true because of just the way we're studying or storing some data. And so we started using the generate follow-up problem, which is generate follow-up quest, and I bet some of these tokens weren't passed through. Is this a Studio Ghibli playlist? You bet it is. This is just all of the best Studio Ghibli songs, I believe. Wait. Yeah. This isn't actually the playlist I'm playing, but I think it's somebody's playlist that keeps pulling from other playlists. Yeah, Studio Ghibli. It's good vibes. I actually tried queuing up a couple other playlists earlier and it kept kicking me back to this, so we're just rolling with it. Alright, so 2 bugs here means one, this let's undo this hack. Let's just always do prompt base is prompt generate open stranger problem. So the first problem in a quest series, we don't want to, we always want to use that at the start. So we'll use that for now, and then we'll come back and so we can do follow-up quests. So that should fix one of the problems of like why we got the weird response, but we also need to fix why it even assumed previously generated quest 4 was true, which is going to be a little funky to do because we just need to re-architect some data. But let's first of all upgrade this guy, GPT-4o also. And let's just see if we can get things working. I still haven't seen the exclamation point over his head. And we didn't attach to Unity, so this will be a quick test, I guess. All right, what you got, Tarn? You gonna do something? Generating a quest? Ayo! Alright, I mean, he'll be stuck in this state because there's no other actions he can do, and once he has a quest, it's no longer a valid action, so it's now 0 actions. But now he has his exclamation point, which, if he's walking around and stuff, it'll follow him, obviously. That tells the player, like, hey, this guy has something important to say. He's going to tell you about a quest he's having. So when we talk to him here, we should see him introducing his quest, not his introductory, like, hi, I'm Tarn, that we would otherwise see. Oh my goodness. Oh, he just keeps generating more and more quests, doesn't he? Surely not. Okay, well, okay, what we will see is the introductory message and then his quest. So that works out well. Okay, so he is actually generating more and more quests, I think, because he had the exclamation point again. It goes away when... Yeah, okay. So we need to make sure he is setting his quest correctly, which I guess we probably should have checked in the codex, but we're getting there. So let's reattach. Let's go to where we are injecting this action. Here, we want to see if getQuest4 is actually equal to string empty, because it shouldn't be, because it should be returning the quest that we're setting when this action completes. Set quest 4. So let's go ahead and breakpoint in there, make sure the quest gets set properly, and let's test this. I feel like sometimes when we attach to Unity, Unity's just like, nah, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to hang out over here. So I feel like in these cases we need to stop trying to attach, kill this process, and then reattach. But come on. Visual Studio Frozen. There we go. Okay. Stop the process. I guess while this loads, I can say, I mentioned earlier we have a couple different ways for NPCs to generate quests. So here's some really simple branching here of we have one prompt for the first time that an NPC generates a quest is very open-ended based on their personality and stuff. But quests after that, we want to use a different prompt that pulls in all the information of how you solved the previous quest. So we have separate prompt for follow-up quests to like continue a thread of plot. But even in this initial prompt, we have more prompts that we can use for like easy, medium, hard. Like right now, I would say we're actually using either the medium or the hard quests that are very abstract, very open-ended, like the music is coming out of the ground, I need you to stop it, versus easy quests that pull in more context from like the player's inventory, and the NPC might say, hey, I need a pickaxe. Do you happen to have one of those or the means to make one? So this right here is where we will do that branching soon too, of like based on maybe how many quests the player has completed in total, or how many quests, or maybe like what level they are, whatever. We can scale the difficulty of their quests as well. But I definitely agree they're too hard right now. We probably need to start them out a lot easier and scale up in how abstract they are. Yes, so we want to attach. Surely this will just work. Cool. All right, we're going in. We want to find out why this guy keeps generating more and more quests. Thank you, Cozy. I've got my water here. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. All right, when this guy starts generating a quest, we'll get knocked over into Visual Studio. I saw an error. I wonder if these are for the chickens. Yeah, it's fine for now. Alright, this guy is now generating a quest. We didn't get kicked over into Visual Studio, which is mildly concerning. And we also didn't hit any breakpoints for when the quest was done. He has a ton of quests. Okay, sure. Why are our breakpoints not working? NPC brain. Should have gotten kicked there. Let's just do something right at the top to make sure it's all working. And we'll, I guess, reattach to this process. But let's wait for Unity to finish compiling. I feel like it's some weird, like, we attached to the wrong, like the old process, Unity recompiled, and then, I don't know. It's probably wonky. Yeah, I feel like if it's hanging to disconnect from the process, there's probably something wrong. All right, so Unity all compiled, sure. Attach, play. And I guess while that loads, we can start looking at this trace. So we will expect to see that possible actions is continuously allowed for this guy. Whereas it shouldn't be, because get quest 4 should be set. So this is the slowest debug ever. Sorry, guys. Huh. Why? All right, we're hydrating. You know what? This would be a great time for me to take a quick bathroom break. We'll give this a few minutes, see if Unity settles, sorts itself out, and then I will be right back. Thanks for being here. Glad I wasn't here waiting this whole time because it is still loading. So what we're gonna do... Wait, now I literally, as I came back... Okay, we got kicked over, I guess. Let's trace through, I guess. So we are on Tarn. He has 0 possible actions for some reason. Oh, right, because we didn't add the generate quest action. We hit continue. This finishes, and he has generated an action now. That action is related to the haunted lemon tree, but not really. He just wants to generate something. So we queue up a action generate NPC quest action for him to complete. And then we are immediately back here and we do it again. Oh, so we should probably also only be doing this if we haven't already queued one of these. But we did get a quest now. So I saw that in set quest. I cooked away a little bit too fast. But if we go through, he should have an actual quest now. So if we continue, yeah. We queued up another generation. But now he shouldn't be doing anything else. So here... Interesting. Alright, we'll requeue again. Let's go into set quest 4. Let's see what this quest is supposed to be. Find myself in a peculiar bind. My affinity to the earth has grown so strong, plants refuse to grow in my presence. Devastating for my garden. Of course, of course. I seek something that might shield my garden from my influence. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So if we go into set quest, active quest 4 has Tarn, has a value of nothing. So now, surely if I set that active quest for Tarn has a value now. Okay, so his quest should be set. And then we continue. He should have a quest still. But we are still, all right. Let's go into get quest 4. See this quest. Why not? While we're here. Been grappling with a hardy trouble that soils my bond with the earth. When I shape the land, my creations crumble to dust. Okay, okay, sure. Can your alchemy mend the fracture between me and the earth? Okay, so if we continue here, next time we're here, we go over that, and we go into get quest 4. Not that one. All right, get quest 4. Active quest 4, person. This is our person. Wait, is this a tuple? No, it's a dictionary of persons to string. So they have a quest, but it's an empty string. That's what we're going to return. And what we're checking is that it's equal to string.empty. Wait. Yeah, why is their quest empty? Is the question. Like we're setting the quest and then clearing it somewhere. Because here, we go into here, set quest 4, active quest 4, same, persona. Their value is nothing, but I see it set here to things. The earth turns to quicksand beneath his feet. So, at some point between here and the next time let's jump into here. What is this? And here, his quest is now empty again. Huh. Well, that's going to be a pain to find. How do we want to do this? Let's active quest. Let's see if we are just like straight up modifying it anywhere weird. Clear quest 4. Ooh, we do that. Is there a weird race condition here? We clear it. I mean, and this should only execute when it's already cleared. But I wonder what's happening is, so we have nothing in our queue of actions to do. And we also have an empty quest. I bet what's happening is when this is happening, or when we have an empty quest, we queue up one of these. And then we do the next loop, which we still have an empty quest because this hasn't completed. We're queuing a ton of these up all at the start. So we should only be queuing this up if we haven't already queued one up, first of all. But then when this one starts executing, say this one, it's going to clear this to a blank string and then start a background process to generate something in here. And it won't be complete until it has something in here. So it'll put something in, marks as complete, and then the next thing is queued up to run, which clears the quest. And then we have an empty quest, so we're queuing up more and more of these. I think that's the infinite loop we're seeing. So we're just constantly clearing and creating new quests. So that should be a pretty easy fix, actually. Now that we've identified it, we can just go over to the NPC brain, and where we are saying that's a valid option, we can also just say if we don't have anything else queued, or even more specifically, like include, like we could exclude this specific action from the queue. So this would be queued actions dot any where action dot get type is this, yeah. So if we haven't, let's rename that. Queued quest generation task. So if we haven't already queued one, and bool has quest, so this logic here, so if we haven't queued a generation task and we don't have a quest, then we can queue one up. But then once we've queued one up, this will no longer be true. Think that'll work? Compiled, attach. We'll see. All right, let's do the thing where we kill stuff manually. I wonder if we should just restart Unity or something, or Visual Studio. It's very laggy in the editor too. Huh. Lots of stuff going down. But I think this should hopefully fix it. What we'll see is he won't have any quests at the start. He will decide to create a quest. We will see that exclamation point. We'll talk to him. The exclamation point will go away. We'll see his introductory message and also his quest message. And then when we leave, we'll get a summary of that conversation, which includes the quest. It'll generate a follow-up message for the next time we talk to him. But he shouldn't be generating more quests, is the big bug. You can do it, Unity. Just hold on. All right, generate a quest for me. Generating a quest. I think we'll get... Okay, our attachment in Visual Studio just doesn't work again. So we'll go ahead and unattach here. But so he has his exclamation point saying that he has now generated a task that the player has not seen yet. So when we talk to him, it should go away. It does. We have a bunch of quests. Okay. Not quite it. Not the fix. Alright, so we are going to need to reattach, but the bug is somewhere in here, or somewhere in... Feels race conditioning. I wonder if this is potentially not working. But we will find out. Attach. Seems attached. Let's go see what those values are. Okay, so first breakpoint, we know it's working at least. Continue on. Queue generation task is false. That is correct. House quest is false. That is correct. So he will generate a quest soon. He has 0 actions in queue, so it shouldn't actually be queuing up a bunch of these quests. Okay, generating a quest. Nothing in his queue yet. Doesn't have a quest yet. So now, when we get a quest, we will dump out there. Did we already get it? I guess, yeah, it's running in the background, isn't it? Okay. Is callback set? It is, I believe. I'm going to just carefully trace back. His quest is cleared out again. Okay. Now, why is this immediately running, it feels like? But, I mean, I guess that's fine because it's been running in the background while I've been staring dumbly at the screen. If we go in here, active quest 4 is probably going to be blank. Yeah, it is. So why does it keep getting reset to blank? Feels like I have like a single equals in an if statement somewhere instead of a double equals, and it's like always clearing it. So here, setting our quest. Let's go ahead. I mean, we know that it's adding it to the conversation, but let's go in there anyway. Back out of the singleton. We're in here. This doesn't affect any other data because we didn't clear a new conversation. It's our first new message. Interesting. Because this is probably going to be the introduction. Oh, it's just first conversation. Okay. So we have our system message. We have our introduction. And we have our quest that we previously added. So now we are adding a fourth message. So can I still see active quest for here? Okay, it is still set after adding the conversation. I was worried it had some sort of effect there. Well, surely shouldn't be already back here. This is a little mind-bending, just with all the different threads all resolving at different times in the game loop. So he's going to have like, yeah, more quests. And then we close this and he'll have more quests. Okay. So something has to be clearing this dictionary. Here's our quest database. Active quest 4. Do we use this in any other file? No, only here. So where is it potentially cleared here? Clear quest 4 will do it. Set quest 4 will set it to something new. But we never hit a breakpoint for this method where quest details was blank. So I don't think we're calling set quest 4 with a blank string. Get quest 4 could return string empty if we haven't added it yet. I feel like that's not the problem. Previously generated quest 4. You know what? Let's breakpoint here. And let's do, if quest details is equal string.empty, bool lol equals true. It's just a green squiggly. Yeah, we can do that. We can breakpoint on that. So if we ever call set quest 4 with empty quest details, we'll know that as well. We're just trying to pinpoint why we're clobbering the quest somewhere. I think it's either going to be here or here. Let's see which one we hit. Sure doesn't feel like it attached, but alright. Okay, get quest 4. I mean, the first time we do this, they don't have a quest yet, so it is true that that will be false. So let's jump back up at what called this. Okay, right, this is fine because they don't have a quest yet. Should be false. And they don't have any tasks queued to generate a quest, so also false. So let's continue on there. We know that's going to happen because then he's going to decide to generate a quest. So he decided to do generate new quest. I want to see what it looks like. It's always interesting to see what parameter they give. Quest title. And, oh, okay. It's just ignoring all that. All right. So we go down. We in queue and action generate new NPC quest. Right. Okay. Okay. Not queued actions is just the one we just queued. That's fine. And then we go back up to the nav mesh surface. All right. Game continues. So at this point, he should have a quest, although we haven't seen the previous one. I think we are in the case where we queue up a quest generation task, but maybe the previous one was completed, marked as complete too soon. So it has been like completed, so it's out of the queue. Queued actions first element is what we're working on right now, I think. I'm not sure if we pop it off when we start working on it or when we finish working on it. So we pop off remove first. Okay. So at this point, our queued actions is actually 0. We want to also make sure we don't have an in progress action. So if we're not doing anything currently, wait, where's that scope? Yeah, it's for the whole class. In progress action. What's its data type, I guess? Oh, it's, oh, okay. And I think we nullify that. And so we also need parentheses. Silly little trap there. If you don't have the parentheses like this, it's going to invert in progress action instead of the whole thing. All right, so if we're not doing anything currently, we don't have anything planned to do, and we don't have any problems, then generate some problems. Let's stop debugging so we can recompile, and let's try again. We are so close, though. Although I still think something is clearing the quest when it shouldn't, but it is possible that we are just continuously re-queuing that action and it's clearing it itself. Oh, we didn't reattach. But, you know what, we can do a quick test and see if that little filter actually worked. So we should see him decide to make a quest. We aren't going to get kicked back to Visual Studio because we didn't attach to it. But you want to do something, buddy? We were seeing one actions in queue continuously. Whenever he decides to make a quest. It should be 0 actions in queue now. But I mean, Okay. You know what? This, at the very beginning, first frame is true, which makes this false, which makes the whole clause false, which means we never add that method. So what we actually want is if type of in progress action is not a like one of these generate new quests. Hi humanoid action dot enabled actions dot generate new quest. I think that's how we do a type of. Or maybe actually we just check the value. Right? In progress action is a humanoid action, right? Am I going crazy? In progress action is a humanoid action. Oh, right. Yeah. It's not, wait. How are we manipulating this elsewhere? We do a bunch of switch cases on it, but we don't ever change it. Except for the one spot where we inject an action. This is fine. All right. So if we go back wherever we were, NPC brain in here. Thanks, Kieran. I'm deep in the weeds now. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole of fixing one thing by breaking another. So we'll get there. Let's say bool currently generating quest is equal to whether in progress action is set and get type. All right, whatever. We can do that instead. So if we are not currently generating a quest, and we are not queued up to generate a quest, and we don't have a quest, we decide to make a quest. Yay, Kieran. Thank you, Kieran. We'll have a little more water too. I'm out of coffee, so it's all water from here on out. So now, theoretically, this should now work on that first frame, which is where we intend to trigger the quest generation. And it won't work on those remaining frames, which we already saw. Hopefully. Let's... You know what? We'll attach just in case. Here we go. It's going to work this time, I promise. All those bugs were just practice to add tension to get us to this moment when it just works. Or doesn't even compile or play. It's gonna work, or else what? I can just delete the entire project, you know. I don't need to worry about that because it'll definitely work, but it's a little suspicious that it is not currently working and we have this issue again. But the code itself will definitely work. It's gonna work, or else I'll stream Overwatch. You know what? It's already 4. You know, It'll work, or I'll stream a game of Overwatch. All right, we have a quest. Oh no, we still have stuff in queue, but we're gonna give him just a few seconds. So in case he's still generating more and more quests, we'll have all those messages in the console. But we don't. Just one quest. Okay. So he has his introduction. He has his quest. I don't know why he has one action in queue. Maybe we're just not redrawing the debug window whenever we consume an action. Maybe it's only when we add an action or something. But this is exactly what we wanted to see. So let's close this, trigger a summary of that conversation, a new message for the next conversation, and also, most importantly, not another quest, which we can kind of see by him not getting the exclamation point back. But let's go ahead and I want to double check logic here in our NPC brain. I think we want to see where we are redrawing our debug actions in queue. I think it's just when we add a new action. I bet this is the only place we edit this. Yeah. So we actually should be also updating it when we consume an action from the queue. So here. Why would I not just copy the whole thing? So here, now when we have consumed an action, there's technically 0 back in queue, so this should go back to that. But now we've waited long enough. If he's generating more quests, we should definitely see them by now. But I think what we'll see is just a summary of the previous conversation and a single message saying, "Have you made any progress?" Haha. All right, so we have our summary of the previous conversation, which we admittedly should probably not force to always start with the words "in a world where." But summarizes the quest. He asks if we made any progress, and we can continue this conversation or not. Looks like it's working. He's going to have the same quest every time we talk to him now. And we should be able to go see, just that first conversation and that second conversation. And he shouldn't have exclamation point. It all works. Now NPCs, as part of all the actions that they can choose to do, they can choose to self-reflect and come up with a quest for the player. And if they don't come up with a quest, they just chat with the player. So player can see when they have a new quest by just seeing when they have an exclamation point over their head. But that's exciting. It works. I think I'll call it there. We didn't really flesh out the full content of quest generation, but we did fix the big architectural thing that I've been meaning to do first. So maybe next week is when we or we'll see. But yeah, that I'm gonna work off stream now. Maybe I'll play some Overwatch. Maybe I'll probably not play some TFT. But thanks for hanging out with me today. It's been however many hours. Let me see if anyone I follow on Twitch is live. We can raid them. But other than that, yeah, we'll go raid over Hilfert Games. He just started streaming a few weeks ago. He's got a pretty big community already though, so he's got a lot of viewers already, but might as well say hello. Thanks for coming, hanging out. We have a lot more to do, but hopefully that demo's coming sooner and sooner. So see you guys. See you, Kieran. See Cozy, Tony, everybody who's hanging out. So I will see you guys in the next stream. Thanks for being here. Let's rock and roll.